But Jamie is awesome, and the funny thing about the fact that she is sang background vocals with me for years before we had kids. Well, I guess it was partly during the time we had kids, but it got too crazy to be on the road, all of us, and so she is at home most of the time with the kids. But this one particular retreat last year I get to go on. It was one of those retreats where there was this really super smart speaker, and he would preach to us, and then we would go off into breakaway groups, and we would break away and sit around in a circle and kind of discuss the sermon or whatever. And it was this retreat where there were like these really kind of remarkable people there. There were a couple of authors and pastors and like these really wise guys there. And we were all sitting around, and the question that came up was, for some reason we ended up talking about kind of like the specific ways that we are pushing back the darkness, shedding light in the darkness and pushing back the fall. What are you doing on a practical level? And it was going around the circle, and there were these really, smart people. And, I wrote my last 4 books about that very thing. And then, the next guy is a pastor, and he's preaching, and it got to me, and it was easy for me to know my answer. Sorry, my eye won't stop itching. Keeps scratching my eyes. Anyway, I knew my answer for years. I've kind of felt like, well, if God gave me any gifting to write songs or books or whatever, then it was to tell the truth in the very most beautiful way that I could think to tell it. And so I've been doing that. So that was my answer. But then it got to Jamie, and I was so curious to see what she would say, because she'll be the first person to tell you that she doesn't have an artistic bone in her body, and she doesn't think like that. And she only sang background vocals with me on the road just because she likes me. And she's a good singer, but she never really wanted to be a singer. And she actually doesn't really like music all that much, which I should say, she doesn't love music. She likes music, but she doesn't ever read lyrics, or pour. And she's only ever bought 1 CD in her whole life, and it was the Titanic soundtrack. And that was not because of the movie or the music, but because of Leonardo DiCaprio. So anyway. But she's just hilarious in that way. And so it got to her, and I was thinking, what is Jamie going to say? She's in this little breakaway group. And it got to her, and she said, well, I'm shedding light in the darkness by raising these 3 children in the Lord. And it was just this beautiful moment where in one phrase she completely humbled all of us in our fancy CDs and books and sermons, because it helped us to realize that the only real work that matters in the world is the love of Christ that you pour into other people. That's where the rubber meets the road. That's what we are all called to do, and it is the surest defense against the darkness. And so it's hard to imagine a more concentrated version of that than a mother like Jamie, every day working so hard to teach them and to nurture them and to fill their lives with beauty and truth. And anyway, I was thinking about that, and how CDs and books are good and all, but only in as much as they do that thing. Does that make sense? So I was thinking about how nice it is that as a songwriter I get emails once in a while from people who say, I was driving through New York today, and your CD was a blessing to me, and they'll send me an email, and it's always very meaningful. It feels good to get those kinds of emails. But then I was thinking how unfortunate it is that moms don't get, like Jamie never gets emails from people saying they were driving across New York and her motherhood was a blessing to them today. And so anyway, I wanted to write a song that would kind of be my email to her, and for that matter to any mom here or dad, whatever. But we know who's really doing the work. And so this is for you guys. This is called Planting Trees.
We chose the spot, we dug the hole, we laid the maples in the ground to have and hold. As autumn falls to winter sleep, we pray that somehow in the dark the roots grow deep. So many years from now, long after we are gone, these trees will spread their branches out and bless the dawn. took a plane to Africa, and he gathered up into his arms an orphan son. So many years from now, long after we are gone, these trees will spread their branches out and bless the dawn. So sit down and write that letter, sign up and join the fight, sink into all that matters, step out into the light, let go of all that's passing, lift up the least of these, lean into something lasting, planting trees. She rises up as morning breaks. She moves among these rooms alone before we wake, and her heart is so full it overflows. She waters us with love, and the children grow. So many years from now, long after we are gone, these trees will spread their branches out and bless the dawn. These trees will spread their branches out and bless someone.